Greetings, adventurers. Allow yourself to forget about the hustle and bustle of the modern world for a moment, and imagine thousands of kilometers of stone wall majestically towering over the picturesque expanses of China like a giant guardian, keeping the secrets of centuries. This is not just a wall, it is an ancient portal leading to a world where history is intertwined with mysticism and legends come to life at every step. But have you ever wondered who actually built it and why? And maybe the Chinese wall is not so Chinese but Russian? Initially, in the distant 3rd century BC, this wall was conceived as an impregnable fortification capable of protecting the great empire from the raids of hostile nomads from the north. Imagine more than 21,000 kilometers of this incredible structure. This is the personification of hard work, engineering genius, and strategic foresight that the Chinese people possessed. This is a grandiose creation, striking in its power and grandeur. But over time, the Great Wall of China became more than just a defensive line. It turned into a place that attracts travelers and researchers from all over the world with its mysterious beauty, its fascinating legends, and its unsolved mysteries. Its architectural power, its ancient history, and its mystical aura beckon us to touch its eternal grandeur. In this video, we will go on a fascinating journey through the centuries, where every stone of this wall breathes history, where every legend is reflected in reality, and where every secret seems to call us to search for it. Are you ready to immerse yourself in this exciting atmosphere of mysticism and mystery? Let's talk about the Great Wall of China, or Changcheng. They say you can see it even from the moon, can you imagine? But it wasn't built for space tourists to admire, of course. It was a powerful defense against nomads. And it all began under the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. Do you think it was for nothing that he buried so many warriors there? I get goosebumps just thinking about it. 270 years of slave labor, my friends, is just awful. The Chinese say that under every brick of this wall are the bones of nameless builders. And they say that the white mortar used during the Ming Dynasty looked like it was made of bones. Horrible, isn't it? Thousands of people died during the construction. Their remains were simply thrown over the wall or buried wherever they could. There is even a legend in China associated with the construction of this wall. When Emperor Qin Shi Huang decided to build the Great Wall, he was obsessed with the idea of creating not only an insurmountable barrier, but also something that would reflect his greatness and power. According to rumors, he found a magic mirror in the mountains that could show the future. The emperor ordered the mirror to be installed on the highest section of the wall to observe future enemy attacks. But soon, the emperor began to notice that the mirror showed not only enemies, but also the troubles that occur because of his cruelty and ruthlessness. The mirror reflected the suffering of the workers who died building the wall, the hunger and poverty of his people caused by his exorbitant ambitions. Tormented by visions, the emperor ordered the mirror to be broken. But the fragments did not disappear, but were absorbed into the stones of the wall. And now, they say, on a clear moonlit evening, you can see in the walls the reflections of the suffering and tragedies that accompanied its construction. And if you look at the wall for a long time, you can hear the whispers of those souls that rest at its base. The legend is Chinese, but the wall, it turns out, is not so Chinese. Nowadays, one can come across the assertion that the Great Wall of China was not built by the Chinese at all, but by the Slavic Aryans, or Tartars, who were defending themselves against the Chinese. They say that the loopholes on that wall are directed towards China. Yes, and in general, Tartaria, which occupied half the world and erected walls along the borders, fought with China and won in 5508 BC, and our old believer calendar is counted from this date. The Great Wall of China is much more than just a fortified fortress. In fact, it is a very complex defensive structure, which once included towers, large ramparts, castles, and other fortifications. The surviving historical documents about the construction of the Great Wall of China that have come down to our days lack details. In particular, the time period for the construction of the Jiangkou section remains unknown. Although the Jiangkou section is not very large, it took more than 40 years and at least 2 generations of people to build it. In short, individual fortifications were built before the entire Great Wall. This demonstrates the evolution of the defense system. Archaeological research tells us how a section of the Great Wall of China was built, developed, used, abandoned, and sometimes destroyed, almost like a person's life. It gives an understanding of the difficulties people faced while creating this architectural wonder. The Great Wall of China is called Pinyin in Chinese, Long Wall, so the Chinese themselves do not call it Chinese. So what does this mean? Is it really ours? And researchers are finding more and more facts confirming this theory every year. According to the official version, construction began in the 3rd millennium BC. According to legend, the great emperor Qin Shi Huangdi, who united several principalities into a single Chinese state, ordered to protect his country from the raids of nomads. But some historians seriously doubt the dating of this structure. According to Andrei Tioniaev, president of the Academy of Fundamental Sciences, the earliest part of the Great Wall was built not in ancient times, but in the 18th century. This means that the wall is slightly older than the Russian Winter Palace. Usually, tourists are shown only a small part of the Great Wall. It is truly breathtaking. But if you look closely at the satellite image, you can see that the Great Wall is not a single structure. In fact, there are about 50 walls, and even just embankments. The same part, where excursions are taken, is only about 10 kilometers long, instead of 6,000 as is usually written. According to one version, it could have been built quite recently, in the 20th century. What is surprising, the wall runs along the ridges of the mountains. From a defense point of view, this is absolutely illogical. Not only the horse nomads, from whom the wall supposedly protected, could not get high into the mountains, but even the foot army. According to historian Serge Karzari, the wall is absolutely useless as a fortification. Judging by its scale, if the wall was ever conceived, at least 10 million people would have been thrown into its construction, the entire adult and able-bodied population of medieval China. Now, researchers have a reasonable question about whether the Great Wall of China ever existed. According to one hypothesis, as an idea and a symbol, it appeared only in the 20th century. Before that time, this grandiose structure, comparable in significance to the greatest historical monuments, simply did not exist. But who and why would need the legend of the Great Wall of China? Some historians who admit the existence of the Great Wall of China draw attention to another amazing fact. All the loopholes of this structure, in which guns were to be installed, are directed towards China itself. Therefore, researchers have come up with the assumption that this wall was most likely built not by the Chinese, but by the Slavs. Their lands once extended much further than Siberia and Altai. This version seems incredible only at first glance. Take a look at the map of Asia of the 18th century. It shows two geographical entities of the Middle Ages, Tartary in the north, China in the south. At the same time, the northern border of the Celestial Empire goes exactly along the Great Wall of China. The academic 10-volume history presents a map of the Qing Empire of the second half of the 17th to 18th centuries. It also shows the border between Russia and China, and it also runs along the line of the Great Wall of China. Strange, isn't it? What other facts support this theory? For example, in 2008, at a scientific congress, scientist Tiuniaev presented a report that surprised many. He showed fragments of ancient ceramics from China. It depicted signs that, as it turned out, were very similar to ancient Russian runes, letters that were written before Cyril and Methodius. Amazingly, the match was almost 80%. This made scientists wonder, was there a connection between the ancient Chinese and Russians? And scientists, studying ancient finds, found out that in the distant past, in the western part of northern China, there lived people who looked like Europeans. And that's not all. Mummies of these people are found all over Siberia, and genetic analysis has shown that they belong to the same group as the ancient Rus. Does this mean that we and the Chinese had common ancestors? And now, pay attention, friends. Let's see what happens if we compare the towers of the Great Wall of China with others. And what do we see? Russian towers, for example, in Smolensk, Pereslavl-Zaleski, Suzdal,